All right, so today's review day. For those of you guys at home, if you didn't come today or you're not going to be here tomorrow for review, you can print this off the module. It's called Review 1, and just follow along, okay? If you are going to make it to class today or tomorrow, you don't need to watch this video, okay? All right, so the test is for you guys going to be Thursday, okay? There are 10 matching questions, okay? There are 8 fill in the blank. 10 multiple choice, and 2 more fill in the blank that I threw in, and then a 5-point long answer. I wouldn't call it an essay, long answer, okay? And you might be able to figure out what that long answer is by looking at the bottom of the review sheet. Okay, so no surprises there, you understand? So we'll talk about that at the end, but we'll go with this review sheet. And just a reminder, guys, you fill this out today in class and bring it Thursday. Give it to me before the test. I'll look at it, I'll put a 5 on it, I'll put 5 out of 5 in the grade book for you. Okay, so it's just kind of the way for me to like make sure at least you're paying attention to the review or something, get some points for that. Okay, if you know the review sheet really well, you should pass the test. If you want to make an A on the test, I would definitely look back through your notes. Okay, look through your notes. All right, and know everything in the notes, and you should make an A on the test. Okay, so test is actually worth 35 points, not 33. Okay, so let's start with head of state. Okay, so really where this comes in, guys, is the presidential and the parliamentary system. Okay, so the head of state in a presidential system is the same, right? It's the president. He's the head of state and chief executive. All right, where's it say that? Yeah, president is both chief executive and head of state. Okay, so the leader of your country, the ceremonial leader is your head of state. Okay, and then when you go to the parliamentary system, guys, remember the head of state is different than the chief executive. In the case of these countries, they have kings, they have queens, they have emperors, and so forth. Okay, in Germany, it's a president. Okay, so the head of state is different in a parliamentary system than the chief executive. Okay, that makes sense. All right, monarchy. Okay, so monarchies are you're generally born into them, are hereditary. Right? No matter what that video said that I showed you, a monarchy is generally an autocracy ruled by one. Sometimes the authority to rule comes from God. Okay, one of the things with public interest, public good, governments generally, one slide. There it is. Yeah, when we look at governments, hopefully the public policy that they're doing, another way of saying the public good is the public interest, okay, that hopefully Republican governments, their public policy promotes the public good, okay, it's just basic common sense, okay. Chief executive, so just back to what we were talking about earlier at the end, The chief executive is the head of the executive branch. Okay, so presidential system, the chief executive, the president. In a parliamentary system, the chief executive is usually called like a prime minister or a premier or something to that effect. All right, John Locke. Okay, English philosopher, believed in natural rights. These natural rights that come to you from God, okay? Obviously talking about a social contract here. And he really believed in like representative democracy, rather than a monarch, okay, which, is pretty bold in 1680. And obviously you'll talk about him at the end of in your long answer. Versus Hobbes, Hobbes said life in a state of nature would be nasty, brutish, and short. Really had a pessimistic view of human beings. Your 5 functions of government, okay? Maintaining order, providing services, resolving conflict, promoting values, and ensuring national security. That's likely to be a question like a multiple choice where which one of these is right, which one of these is wrong type of thing. Okay. Social contract is just an agreement between people and government, between the governed and the government. It's a social contract. Our social contract is a representative democracy with a presidential system using federalism. Okay, that's kind of what our system is: representative democracy, 3 branches of government, federal system of government, sharing of power between national, state, and local governments, and a presidential system. And other social contracts are different, but generally all republics, which most countries in the world today are republics, are some sort of social contract between the people and the government, unless you're in a monarchy or a dictatorship, right? Some type of dictatorship, you don't have a social contract. Okay, where are we at? Federal system. Okay, power shared, divided or shared between national, state, and local governments. That's federalism. Whereas some powers belong to the national, some belong to the state and local, some are unique, some they share, they work together. Again, getting a little repetitive on the presidential system. Okay, key thing here, guys. Remember, the president is independent from the legislature. The two branches, the executive and the legislature, are separate and independent. Our Congress does not elect the president, and you can't be in one and be in the other, right? You can't be senator and in the executive branch. Separation of powers here. Just kind of giving you guys a heads up, just thinking about this. Generally, you guys will not be here during the review, kind of moving forward, because I'm not going to take 2 days to do that, after this. So since you guys are the first day, I'll probably be finishing notes while you're here, give you a review sheet, take it home, and you'll have to fill it out with the video. Okay. Thinking forward there a little bit. Okay. Representative democracy. Let's see. That's here. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so republics. Okay, representative democracy is a republic. Okay. And that's basically where people elect representatives to carry out their will. So we elect people to carry out what we want. That's a representative democracy. And a constitutional monarchy. Okay, this is, think Britain when you hear constitutional monarchy. And yes, there's a monarch, but the Constitution places the power somewhere else. Okay, generally with the prime minister or premier, a lot of these constitutional monarchies tend to be parliamentary systems. Okay, so when you look at Britain, Denmark, Japan, Norway, they still have a king or an emperor, but they don't have any power. Okay. And this is a form of a republic as well. A constitutional monarchy can be a republic. Okay. It's not a true monarchy. Okay. Kind of like we're not a true democracy. We have democratic values, but we're not a true democracy. So what is this? This says democratic values. Okay, unitary system. Okay, this goes back to power within forms of government. So again, guys, try and think of the big unit. The big unit is the national government. All real power, all legal powers held at the national level. Big unit tells the others what to do. Okay. If you ask me, this is one of the biggest things we should fear as a nation. We don't want all of our decisions being made at the national level. One size fits all. Okay? We're too big of a country, too diverse to have one size fits all. We think differently in different parts of the country. We have different cultures in different parts of the country. sovereignty just basically means the right to rule. Have that. It's one of those slides where I covered some stuff. There it is. Authority basically means the right to rule over yourself. So when you have a government that has sovereignty over its citizens, okay, has sovereignty over its borders, okay, all governments tend to have, sovereignty or authority over. Okay, as an individual, you have sovereignty too, depending on your age. Okay, again, we're hitting this, a bunch of times, so you should remember it well. Sorry. Okay, parliamentary systems, the executive and the legislature are together. So remember, that's when I said you must be an MP to be the PM. You have to be a member of parliament to become prime minister. They are connected, okay? And then just stuff that we've already talked about, right? So the head of state is different than the prime minister, who's the chief executive. Okay. They're elected by the parliament. So those two branches are connected. Anarchy is just absence of government or laws. Absence of government or laws is anarchy. I thought that video I showed the other day was pretty good on this, where, anarchists tend to break down try to break down a government, create chaos. And then out of that chaos, they try and take power. Okay. That's really interesting to look at. If you followed Antifa at all, I don't know, have you guys followed Antifa, what they're doing in Portland and Seattle? These people are nuts, man. They say they're anti-fascists, yet they act exactly like fascists. You know what I mean? And it's a big illusion. And hopefully these people will just go away. But I feel sorry for people that live in Portland that don't think like that. It's a mess. Anyhow, okay. Oligarchy. That's simple. That's just rule by a few. It's a form of dictatorship. Okay, rule by a few. The example I gave guys was China, okay, where the Communist Party rules. There's people that are pretty, skeptical in this country and look at our system and how the powerful, the rich and the powerful, the elites feel like they control everything. I don't think we're there yet. You know what I mean? We're just this ruling class of people. I mean, if anything shows you that we're not there, it was the election of Donald Trump in 2016. Okay, because he was an outsider, and the whole system went after him and tried to stop him, and it didn't work. He was elected. Okay, so I mean, for those people that are cynical of our system, and there's a lot to be cynical about the wealthy, the powerful, the elite. We're still a system of the people for now, I think. Okay, what's next here? Totalitarian, right there, okay? So this is an extreme type of dictatorship, okay? Ruling with an iron fist, if you will. Controlling every aspect of life through force. So you look at, say, North Korea today, Nazi Germany. And this is where you get a little bit confused on the test, guys, with these different definitions in here, okay? The next one you have on there is dictatorship, okay? Power is in the hands of a single person or small group, okay? So it could be an autocracy or it could be an oligarchy, but what's in common is that the people have little, if any, control or any say in their government, okay? Elections can be unfair, manipulated. And this is something really that the leaders in this country are elected leaders. I mean, when you have 70 million people in this country that feel like this last election was unfair, that something wasn't right about it, I mean, they just got a bad feeling about it. And what happened in Georgia and what happened in, Philadelphia and Detroit and some of these places that look fishy. I mean, our leaders really need to make sure that in our next election, that you don't come away thinking, 70 million people feel like the election was stolen. Okay, we need more transparency. We need to make sure that everything's on the up and up. A lot of it had to do with the mail-in ballots, guys, because we've never done that before on this scale. Okay, and every state does the elections on their own. And this is good. I mean, it's a good thing that we have 50 different systems of how we run the federal elections. If we did it nationally, I think it would be easier to manipulate it. So it's just the states need to make sure they're cleaning up their act here, okay? Just so that people don't question it. It's bad that people even question it, but that's happening, okay? All right, so confederal system is just the opposite of the unitary system, which is where all power is held at the state and local level. Okay, so basically independent states join together for common goals. Okay, so European Union is a good example of this, where European countries come together for economic cooperation. Okay. Or, during the American Revolution, we did the Articles of Confederation. Again, back to the dictatorships, autocracy, ruled by one. Okay, it could be a monarch, could be like a Fidel Castro, could be like an Adolf Hitler. It doesn't have to be a monarch. Democracy is simple, ruled by a people. And I got dictatorship on there again. Government, simple definition here on the first page. Institution with power to make and enforce laws for a group of people. Principles of democracy. I think that was on your homework. Look, you had your homework out a minute ago, didn't you?
That was my notes.
Oh, those are your notes. Everybody got their homework on them? There are 4 principles of democracy. I believe this was a question on here somewhere. Yes, it was. There it is. All right, you ready? The fundamental worth of the individual. The worth of the individual. The rule of law. Majority rule and minority rights. Majority rule and minority rights. Let's talk about that for a second. Guys, you guys know in this country, throughout our history, because you've been alive and you've taken U.S. history classes, that there have been times in this country where we did not protect the rights of the minority, right? Especially like talk about slavery, you talk about women that didn't have the right to vote till 1920, you talk about discrimination, Jim Crow laws, and so forth, okay? Here's the deal. White people, actually white Protestants, have been the majority of Americans for a really long time throughout this country's history, okay? If the white Protestant male does not protect the rights of the minority, when white Protestant males become the minority, will the new majority protect their rights? Okay, so our demographics are changing. White people are still a plurality in this country, which means the most, okay, but no longer are the majority. So what we have to do, and it makes sense, is protect the rights of minorities, okay? And the best way to do that is through a republican system, through law, not through majority rule, okay? Majority rule is like democracy, democratic, and it can be dangerous, okay? Because when the majority wants to mistreat the minority and they're able to, you got trouble, okay? So that's why a nation of laws set up to protect all citizens, okay, are important. Protect minority rights from the majority. Does that make sense? Okay. The 4th one is compromise. Okay. Principle of democracy is compromise. And the book has a 5th one they added in here, and that's citizen participation. Citizen participation. Okay, those are principles of democracy. I got totalitarian on there twice. Majority rule. Guys, most decisions in a republic or a democracy are made by majority rule. Okay, so in Congress, majority vote, bill passes. Okay, state legislature, same thing. Elections, whoever wins the majority of votes generally wins. Especially, if it's presidential, the majority of the electoral college, all other elections, majority of the votes. Okay, that takes us back to the long answer question. Okay, and the beliefs of John Locke on civil government, on the U.S. Declaration of Independence. Now, don't really have to go into the Constitution because we haven't talked about the Constitution yet. So really just its impact on the Declaration of Independence, okay? So in this long answer, guys, you're going to want to write about, John Locke proposed a social contract which would be, representative democracy. That's the number one thing, is to secure people's natural rights. Okay, and what he called life, liberty, and property for natural rights, and that government gets its power not from God. Okay, and this was a big change, challenging the divine right theory. So that the legitimacy comes from the people. Okay, and if the government doesn't protect those rights, what can the people do? The government doesn't secure our rights. What can we do? Yeah, we can change it. We can overthrow it. Establish new government. Okay? So when you go to the Declaration of Independence, okay, obviously your author is, who wrote this? Thomas Jefferson. Okay? And so Jefferson really borrows from Locke's philosophy, okay, that we have unalienable rights that come from God. And these include life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Okay, and where do governments get their power? Okay, governments are instituted among men. They derive their powers from the governed, from the people. It's exactly what Locke said. And when a form of government becomes destructive and doesn't secure these rights, it's the right to alter and abolish it and establish a new social contract. Okay, and that's exactly what we did with the American Revolution. I mean, Locke talks about temporarily going back into a state of nature to form a new government. That's what we did. We went back into a state of nature called the American Revolution to form a new social contract. Okay? And cover all that, guys, you're in good shape. Okay? Good solid paragraph on that. Okay? We'll write more later on. And that pretty much sums up the chapter 1 test. Good? All right. See ya.